Texas never had a law against being stupid. I count that as a good thing. Otherwise, I never would have made it to 17 and become a Texas Ranger in 1859 without having spent some serious time in the pokey. Those were the thoughts ricocheting around my brain as bullets kicked up the caliche in front of my horse and snapped off pieces of ebony branches near my head. Some son of a bitch was really trying to kill me. That's when Major Ford yelled, "They want to fight, boys? Let's give 'em one!" My first instinct was to get the hell out of there. But that's not the Ranger way. It made me think maybe becoming a Ranger hadn't been one of my best ideas after all. Then I remembered my pa used to say, "Trace, being stupid ain't a sin, and it doesn't have to be fatal, long as you live long enough to learn from your mistakes." At that moment, I wasn't sure if I'd be able to profit from my mistake. Whatever I did, changing my long johns real soon might turn out to be a very good idea. Trace LaFawn, I told myself through chattering teeth, I hope you're shaken from the cold and not from cowardice. As we wheeled into formation like the Major had taught us, I came to understand the expression scared shitless. The good news was that my long johns were going to be okay. The next couple of minutes would tell me if the same could be said for me. It was the 1st of December at the southern tip of Texas, and as Sergeant Calvin Alley put it, it was cold as a witch's tit in a brass brassiere. Sergeant Alley was almost 30, and knew more about most things than I did, especially women and rangering. He was short, beefy, with a round face, but hands so strong no man could shake his hand for a full minute without hollerin' uncle first. A blue norther had blown in the next to the last day of November as we were officially mustered into service just west of Corpus Christi, along the Gulf of Mexico. The cold came in suddenly, with sleet and rain and a piercing wind that Cactus and Chaparral hadn't seen in years. Even in my heavy brown wool coat and gloves, my teeth were clicking as we took the trail south about 100 miles towards the town of Brownsville. It was Sergeant Alley who reined in beside me. "I was out fishing one warm fall day up on the Sabine and had just popped a 6-pound catfish up out of the water when another blue norther hit. By the time that fish come down again, the river had froze over and killed the damn fish when it hit the ice." Sergeant Alley told this with a straight face, then shook his head thoughtfully, saying, "This here's kind of a warm one compared to that." Then he was gone, rode on to check on some of the other new recruits. Officially, I was Private Trace LaFawn, the youngest in Captain Joe Walker's company. I'm mostly skin and bone, like my old man told Major Ford the night the famous Ranger and 8 other men rode in from Austin, but Pa added that while I wasn't heavy enough to hold down my own hat in a stiff wind, even if I was sitting on it, I was fast on my feet, a decent shot, and knew how to do what I'm told. He also said if I didn't get off the farm pretty soon, I'd likely end up a guest of honor at some girl's shotgun wedding, or robbing banks for money I wouldn't know how to spend. Pa knew I was about to bust to grow up, and rangerin' might be a good fit. The Major looked me over, my standing about 6 foot in clean socks, a little higher if I ain't washed in a while. After a moment, the Major nodded his head, and I had a new direction in life. Major Sam Rip Ford topped out at 5'8" and of medium build, but I never knew a bigger man. He was clean-shaven, wore a buckskin coat and a high, flat-crowned hat. He was a ranger who'd done it all. Now he was assigned to help pull together a company of Texas Rangers to help uphold the law, instead of the traditional job of fighting Indians or Mexican invaders. The next morning, winter clouds started to gather, and it was the grayest, coldest time of the year. Of course, that was before the blue norther hit. I rode out of Goliad with nearly 20 men who had answered the same call. That's the way it's always been. Texas calls and men show up, not really knowing what we'd be up against. Being shot at for the first time makes you face up to yourself or light a shuck for parts unknown. So here I was, trying to face up to myself, keep my laundry clean, and stay in the saddle.